The place which is most oppressive in the world, probably the world right now, is in East India. Heat and humidity alone, no sunshine, just the heat and humidity alone, already temperatures are going to be feeling at night above 100 degrees at night. That's the lowest part of the day. And this is for real. This is real stuff. Heat index here in Chicago, we don't have a great enough appreciation for it because the heat index reputation has been destroyed here in Chicago by the wind. So they tell you on the radio there'll be a heat index of 105. It is hot, but people think, oh, come on, it's not really 105. Yeah, because there's a wind. But if you go to places like India where there's no wind, the winds are 3 or 4 miles per hour, the heat index is very real. In fact, it's even more real than the temperature, really. Many people will tell you that nothing could be more oppressive than a humid heat. 95 degrees with high humidity feels hotter than 115 degrees with no humidity if there's no wind. If there is a wind, then we have something very interesting that happens. The 95 degrees with high humidity no longer feels like 105 or 115 degrees, depending on the dew point. The wind brings that heat index down. It brings what the heat index feels like. The heat index is an official thing, so the heat index remains the heat index. But the heat index isn't accurate. It doesn't feel like 105 or 115. The wind brings it down and even could bring it down drastically. Drastically. It could really bring it down. Depending on what you're doing, there's a drastic difference between windy environment with heat and humidity and non-windy environment. The same is true. This is really something phenomenal. This is a big chiddush, a big shocker over here. The same is true in a dry heat. The wind makes it unbearable. The wind makes it unbearable in a dry heat. People in Arizona they drive on the highways. They open their window. They put their arm out the window. It's blazing hot. It's too hot. It's the wind, motorcycle rider. You go into South Kansas, they have these motorcycle races. More people die from heat illnesses when it's windy than when it's humid. That's when the temperatures are higher than 95, or they are 95, but it's dry outside. Similar to what happened in North Platte, Nebraska this past Friday, 31 mile per hour wind, temperature 95 degrees. Heat and humidity alone would put that temperature, the heat index was 91 degrees. But the heat index, you throw that out the window once there's a wind. In fact, the drier it is, the stronger impact that wind has on the heat. I think I spoke about this in the previous, in 2 podcasts ago, or maybe 3, of why that is, why it's so oppressive when you have windy, dry, and hot conditions. It's very simple. The evaporation pace is so intense that your body never gets wet in the first place, so there is no evaporative cooling. So you have the exact opposite. The heat and the wind actually win. They're the winners. So Death Valley, California, if there's no wind, temperatures feel 15 degrees cooler than the temperature. If there is a wind, temperatures feel 5 degrees warmer 5 degrees warmer than the temperature. So the wind makes it feel 20 degrees hotter in places like Death Valley, 20 degrees hotter in a place like Death Valley. You go to Death Valley, California, normal high in July is 115 degrees. When you have dew points in the 30s, the heat index is only 100 degrees. So to them, 115 feels like what 90 feels in the Midwest. 90 degrees here in the Midwest a lot of times feels like 100, or 95 feels like 100. In India, 80 degrees at night, right now, 80 degrees at night feels like 100 degrees because the dew point is 80 degrees and there's no wind at all. In fact, the heat index was made when there's a wind of 5.6 miles per hour. The winds are even less than that. So the heat index, if anything, is underrated. It's underestimated. The value really is more intense than what the heat index charts show for places in East India. That's probably the hottest spot in the world right now, where you have temperatures in the low 80s and dew points also in the low 80s. As we go through the day tomorrow, the temperatures start to skyrocket in the afternoon when the dew points start to drop. East India is one of the few places in the world where right now, on a daily basis, you wake up with sauna-like conditions, but by afternoon it turns into a desert heat. That's not common, and it's a daily routine over there. You wake up with a dew point in the upper 70s. Dew points drop into the upper 50s by the afternoon. New Delhi is extremely hot right now with temperatures around 105 to 108 degrees, and it's hazy. The visibility is very low because of pollution, and the air quality is unhealthy. You could put the word very, very, very by everything over there, because that's what it is. It's just really unhealthy, and it's a dangerous situation that's taking place in New Delhi, India. The one thing they have going for them is that the humidity is not there yet. There is no humidity. The dew points are in the 40s. And there's no wind. So it's not as bad as it could be. But next week, temperatures go up to 115 degrees, and by the end of that week, the humidity returns, at least on some level. There also could be a couple of thunderstorms, and I don't know what type of impact that has on the air pollution. I would think it has a good impact. I would think it kind of cleans things out, but it has to. It brings downdrafts from the upper atmosphere. I would think it clears things out. Maybe that's something to look forward to, but that's not in the forecast till the end of next week for New Delhi, India. And places on the coast, it's super humid. Even the water temperatures are warm. They say the most pleasant water is 83 degrees, I think. Water temperatures are higher than that. Water temperatures are close to that, though. The highest water temperature I saw was 88 degrees off in the east coast of India. Gulf of Mexico, water temperatures are only in the low 70s, and that's why dew points are in the low 60s. Dew points tend to be about 10 degrees lower than what those water temperatures are. Some spots we have water temperatures in the upper 70s off the coast of Texas. You have dew points there in the upper 60s in cities like Houston, Galveston, Corpus Christi, Texas. As we go through the summer months, we're going to see those water temperatures rise to approximately 90 degrees, 89 degrees. And you'll get those dew points of 79 degrees. When you have that air moving over the Midwest Corn Belt, the dew points go into the lower 80s, sometimes even mid-80s.